I have been on a frugal journey for many years now. I am constantly working around the house, trying to figure out ways to save money. We currently live on one income, so finding ways to save money around the house is pretty important. And a great way that I find that I can save money is in the kitchen. So I have a list here of 13 things I make at home so I don't have to buy them at the grocery store that save me money. There are so many things that we can make from scratch at home that cost so much less than store-bought. And I have a list here of 13 of them that I do from home, and it really helps to save money on the grocery budget. Not only that, but typically when you are making these things from home, you are also saving on a lot of those preservatives and extra ingredients that the store-bought ones like to stick in there. So I really like the fact that we can save on all of those ingredients as well, where we're not putting extra things into our body that aren't needed. So the first thing that I've learned to make at home to save some money was bread. And at first I thought, it needs to be sourdough bread, of which we love sourdough bread as well, but a fast yeast bread is just so much easier in a time crunch. So I find that I typically lean on my yeast breads more than I lean on the sourdoughs. But if you are in a pinch in your budget, then learning to make bread at home can actually save a decent amount of money. Even the crappiest bread at the store where I am is $3 a loaf, where I can make this bread for about $1.50. So you're saving half the price on a homemade loaf of bread as opposed to the store-bought. And if you have ever had homemade bread as opposed to the store-bought bread, the homemade bread is just so incredibly delicious. And I know for me, we have to actually be careful not to just eat too much bread because then those savings are gone. But the bread is just so much better than store-bought bread. And after making it at home, the only reason that we would have store-bought bread is simply out of convenience, because out of taste, then it's the homemade bread for sure. I did switch flours while I was making this bread. Normally I have just a plain white flour that I use and it rises really nicely. For this bread, I decided to try a whole wheat flour, and it's definitely rising a little differently than what my normal bread rises as, but that was fine. It still came out nice and it tasted delicious. It just was a little denser than my regular bread. The next thing that I learned to make at home so that I am not buying anything from the store are homemade gummies. My kids love gummies, and not only that, but it's a nice snack for them, especially if we're out and about, because they do actually travel fairly well. And they also go to a forest school a couple times a week, so having some gummies as a snack there is really nice for them. So I like to make these out of fresh juice that I have canned myself, and I'll attach the recipe in the description for you guys. But for starters, I start off with 4 cups of water, and then I bloom my gelatin in 2 cups of water. You can use juice if you'd like, but it has to be cool, otherwise that gelatin will turn to clumpy cement in hot water or hot juice. And then I add it into my boiling juice, and you can add sweetener. I had added about a half a cup of honey. And then I go ahead and I get these into my gummy trays and my gummy molds, and I just pop them in the fridge for about 2 hours. If you don't have a gummy mold, you can go ahead and just stick this in a pan and then just cut it up into cubes, and they make perfect gummies. And then those are your all natural gummies without the 14 ingredients. Because if you look at those store-bought gummies, they have a ridiculous amount of ingredients added that just aren't necessary when I can make these at home with 3 ingredients. Now, I made these with honey, but if you don't have the money for honey, because I know honey is actually fairly expensive, especially where I am, then using plain white sugar is also fine, but also just using the natural sweetness from the juice. So If I'm using a different juice, like a grape juice or something like that, then I would not typically use a sweetener. But this is with cranberry juice that I had canned earlier in the season, and it's fairly sour. So for the gummies, I did want to add a little bit of sweetener, but it is not necessary if you are using naturally sweetened juices. I find with my grape juice, I oftentimes will not add that in there. There's my daughter. She's super happy with the way these gummies turned out. It's definitely a fun, kid-friendly activity if you're wanting to get them in the kitchen. They love popping these things out of those little gummy things. Another way I save money at home is to make my own pantry mixes. So I don't rely on going to the grocery store to go buy a pancake mix or instant hot chocolate or biscuit mix or muffin mix or anything like that. I make sure that I am making those at home. Now, a lot of the times I will just do this from scratch the day of, but having the mixes already in the pantry is so incredibly helpful for those crazy days where you're just trying to get something on the table, and having that mix there just makes things so much nicer. And added to that, I also do my own pre-made spices. So anything like this is a pumpkin spice that I'm making here, but I also do Cajun spice mix, Italian spice mix, all of the spice mixes. I'll do them at home instead of relying on store-bought, because that way, again, I know what exactly is going into these mixes and I'm not relying on the store to add different additives or anything like that. And it's also a heck of a lot cheaper in the long run. The next thing that I make at home is soap. I don't remember the last time I actually bought soap from the store because it has been so long. And my daughter has sensitive skin, so she really cannot have, especially any of the pump soaps, anything scented, that sort of thing. It will cause her skin to go bubbly and red. She's got very sensitive skin in that regard, so I would have to be purchasing a sensitive skin soap, and those things are so expensive. So I make my own soap at home. This one's an olive oil based soap. It's really nice and creamy, very nice on the skin. Typically you would find these for about $8 a bar, and I can make these just for over $1 a bar. So having some pre-made soap at home saves a ridiculous amount of money. Not only that, but I will oftentimes gift these to friends and family for Christmas and birthdays and things like that. So in the long run, it does save quite a bit of money. Now, in that same vein, I also no longer buy any skincare products like moisturizers, hand creams, that sort of thing from the store because A, that's expensive. Face creams, especially for women, are incredibly expensive. That's a huge load on the budget to be buying face creams and such, I find. For myself, I don't mind naturally aging, but also if I'm finding that I'm feeling dry, I have this beef tallow mixture that I do make, and it is lovely and moisturizing on the skin, and it saves a ton of money from buying anything from the store, especially the store-bought stuff that has so many ingredients in it that go into your skin. Having the homemade beef tallow is just so lovely. Next is laundry soap. Again, I don't know the last time I bought laundry soap because I learned how to make this myself, and it is $10 and it lasts me 2 years. So it is unbelievably budget friendly. Now, I have an entire video on the soaps and all of that. I will link these all in the description box for you. So if you are wondering how you also can make laundry soap for $10 that will last you 2 years, then I will link that in the description and you can have that recipe as well. Next up, I don't buy muffins. So store-bought muffins, again, have extra ingredients and they are very expensive to have them pre-made there for you. So learning how to make your muffins at home can save you lots of money, and you can play with the ingredients and just make them super tasty. And juice. Typically, we just drink water around here, but for any juices, I will have them pre-canned and pre-made myself. Cranberry juice and grape juice typically. Grape juice, we grow a lot of grapes on our property, so I will juice them and have them on hand, and then we can have juice, or we can make gummies or jello or anything like that. So I make sure that I do that at home and I am not buying any sort of juice from the store. I heard all about how juices were made by somebody who worked there, and so I will never, ever buy juice for my family. It's just not something that will ever be on our budget. Next up is cough syrup. So again, I don't remember the last time I bought cough syrup because I make homemade mixtures like this garlic and honey fermented mixture, as well as elderberry syrup, and those are our go-tos when we are sick. So cough syrup doesn't typically make it into the house. I would rather a homemade mixture for that sort of thing. Again, just keeps the chemicals out. It's much cheaper, especially the fact that we grow the garlic and grow the elderberries as well here. So this is just something that I no longer buy from the store. Next up is pie. Now, I know, especially around the holidays, it might be easy just to grab a pie from the store, but learning to make it on your own, again, is way more budget friendly. Even the cheap pies are like $13 here. If you would like a really nice one, like a nice big filled one like this one, it's going to cost you at least $20. So I can make this myself, again, way more budget friendly. Depending on the ingredients that I'm using, this might cost in between $3 and $5. So it's a huge budget friendly thing, budget saver. Next is takeout. So this is something, and again, occasionally, but very, very rarely do we ever get takeout because I will make the fun things at home. And this could be chicken wings, it could be pizza. Right now we're doing a sourdough pizza roll, and you make it fun and delicious, and it honestly just tastes so much better. I know there's a popular food chain that it will just never go to anymore because it tastes like cardboard. It does not taste good. The saying, we just make better food at home, is so true. So once you start making these things at home, you'll realize that they just taste so much better, and you're not even going to be tempted to want to go out to get takeout because you know you make better food at home. And next is fruit roll-ups. Fruit roll-ups from the store are full of garbage and food dyes, and not even real fruit juice. So these ones I make at home. I make them from pureed peaches that we grow here on our suburban property. And I just dehydrate them and cut them up. And those are fruit roll-ups from the kids. This jar didn't last a week. It was gone so quickly. But you know what? I just make a bunch of them, and then they have them for however long they last, and then they're out. They don't get any more. So that's just the way it works. We never ever buy fruit roll-ups as treats. And lastly, it is canned fruit and canned jams. So we make all of these at home. I don't remember the last time I bought jam or canned fruit. And they're just, again, so much more beneficial and more delicious and save tons of money. If you are looking for more ways to save money around the house, on your grocery budget, things like that, make sure you check out the playlist that I have linked here. I have tons of ideas for you to save money around the house, especially if you're living on one income. This is super helpful to have. And if you enjoy saving money around the house, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for following me today. I will see you guys next time.